Victor Hugo wrote this novel, one of the most important works of the 19th century. He was born in Besançon, France, in February 26. His father, a Republican and a senior officer in Napoleon's army, his mother, Sophie. Hugo decides at an early age to be a writer. At the age of 15, he was honored by a literary organization for a poem, and he published his first book when he was 20. Over the next 60 years, he wrote 20 books. In 1843 was a bad year for Hugo. His daughter and wife had an accident. Hugo returned to France in 1870. He was welcomed back as a national hero and he achieved very high position in government. He died in 1885. He will be remembered as one of the world's greatest and most important writers.
Contextualization. First of all, the novel takes place after the Industrial Revolution in 1760. Discussed that in Europe there is a separation between high social classes and lower social classes. Here, those who had taken the power were the bourgeois. The bourgeois were the people who wanted to control everything, all laws, all the money, also the type of person who will live with them. In this moment of the story, the police and the government helped a lot to the royalty. The police helped to keep the control and complied with orders, and the government helped the economic system on the royalty. The royalty always wanted more. They spent more than they can earn. They wanted to gain more territories. The royalty was very ambitious, always wanted more, and for that reason, the town went down. Geographical setting of the novel. Les Miserables take place in a town called Dingue in France after the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, where a lot of people lost their families. The town was very small and people who lived there were very poor, and also they suffered social injustice. In this novel, the woman power didn't exist. The woman had no right. The children didn't have any education because the most of them were poverty, and they couldn't pay for a good education. All the power were in the men's. Only men can job and talk about politics.
In my opinion, the novel written by Victor Hugo, called Les Miserables, has that name to tell the world the injustices that the poor lived. Shows the suffering of poor people for the injustices attributed to them. From a mother who loses her job because she has a fatherless daughter and has to leave her with evil brothers. Even a man who seeks to change himself, thanks to the opportunity the bishop gave him. Finally, a man who is torn between being a good person or enforcing the laws. And this is how Victor Hugo shows the injustices of the 19th century.
In the novel Les Miserables, different realities about social injustice are reflected. Many times society is unfair with many people. People who live in the misery and poverty. They are considered outside society. Les Miserables offers many examples about poverty and bad treatment to the poor. For example, in chapter 2, Fantine, a young orphan woman who had become pregnant, had a daughter named Cosette. She was in extreme poverty. Fantine was desperate and asked a family for help. The teenager's family agreed to care for Fantine's daughter for money. However, they tricked Fantine and mistreated Cosette. Fantine said goodbye to her daughter as if her heart was breaking. But it was a clever trap for the teenager's family. This chapter shows how a person in poverty even sells his dignity. Another example of indifference to the poor is in chapter 4. A man in the long yellow coat arrived to the village of Montfermeil. The Madame Thénardier glanced at him without interest, and she supposed that he probably had no money. The mysterious man was willing to pay for Cosette. In this chapter, while money is essential, people are considered as a product. A last example happens in chapter 7. The protagonist Maurice, after his conversation with the girl from the next room, he understood what real poverty was. Marius thought about the sad life of the family in the next room. This character reflects on social suffering.